From BBC Learning English, this is Learning English from the News, our podcast about the news headlines.
In this programme, Hiroshima, 80 years since atomic bomb.
Hello, I'm Beth.
And I'm Neil.
In this programme, we look at one big news story and the vocabulary in the headlines that will help you understand it.
You can find all the vocabulary and headlines from this episode, as well as a worksheet on our website, bbclearningenglish.com.
OK, so let's get started, Neil.
80 years ago, on the 6th of August 1945, the United States dropped an atomic bomb on the Japanese city of Hiroshima.
The aim was to force a quick end to World War II.
The bomb destroyed the city of Hiroshima and about 140,000 people were killed.
In Nagasaki, another Japanese city hit by an atomic bomb by the US 3 days later, at least 74,000 people were killed.
The nuclear radiation released by the bombs caused thousands more people to die from radiation sickness in the weeks, months and years that followed.
Hiroshima was the world's first nuclear attack, and nuclear weapons have not been used in warfare since the end of World War II.
Our first headline is about the 80th anniversary of the bomb. Hiroshima at 80, remembering the bomb, reimagining peace. And that headline from Gulf News.
And that headline again from Gulf News. Hiroshima at 80, remembering the bomb, reimagining peace.
So, this headline marks 80 years since the atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima. We're interested in the word reimagining. What can you tell us about reimagining, Beth?
Well, you know the verb imagine. That means to form a picture in your mind of what something could be like. And the prefix re means again. So when you reimagine something, you imagine it again, but in a new and different way.
Yes, so the headline says reimagining peace. So it means thinking about how to achieve peace in a new and different way, especially in relation to war and nuclear weapons. And we can use reimagine for other situations, can't we, Beth?
Yes, we can. So, for example, in film and TV, directors often reimagine a classic story. So that means the characters or parts of the story might be updated to suit modern times and modern audiences.
And you could also reimagine the future. So if you lose your job, for example, you might need to think about your future in a new and fresh way to reimagine it.
We've had reimagining, thinking about something in a new and different way.
For example, during the COVID pandemic, schools had to reimagine how to teach classes.
This is Learning English from the News, our podcast about the news headlines. Today we're talking about the 80th anniversary of the Hiroshima bombing.
At the time of the Hiroshima bombing, only the USA had nuclear weapons. Now 9 countries have them, including Russia, China and the UK.
And the number of weapons that some countries have is also increasing.
And other countries say they want to develop atomic weapons.
And our next headline is about the threat of nuclear weapons in the world today.
Nuclear threat still hangs over our world 80 years on. And that's from Business Times.
And that headline again, nuclear threat still hangs over our world 80 years on. And that's from Business Times.
So this headline is about the continued danger of nuclear weapons, even 80 years after Hiroshima. We're focusing on the phrase hangs over. Now, what does that mean, Beth?
OK, well, let's think about the verb hang. Imagine a light hanging from the ceiling or clothes hanging on a washing line. So hang means that something is suspended in the air from something.
Now, the headline says hangs over, and that means something is over your head. But that is literal, and in the headline, hangs over is used metaphorically.
Now, nuclear threat is not something that is literally above your head, but it's something negative and threatening that makes you feel anxious or unsafe, as if there was something threatening above your head.
So, when the headline says nuclear threat still hangs over the world, it means the nuclear threat exists and is always there, creating worry and danger, even if nothing has happened since World War II.
That's right. It means the threat is ongoing. And we can use hangs over in other serious situations, can't we? Especially when talking about fears, worries, and threats.
Yes. So, for example, in a cost of living crisis, money worries might hang over the population.
We've had hangs over, threatens.
For example, the funding has been rejected, so uncertainty is hanging over the future of the business. This is Learning English from the News, our podcast about the news headlines. Today, we're talking about the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima 80 years ago.
The threat of using nuclear weapons, and even nuclear war, is still high in the world, especially as more countries now have nuclear weapons.
For example, last week, US President Donald Trump said he ordered 2 nuclear submarines to move closer to Russia after being offended by former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev.
Now, our next headline is about the current threat of nuclear weapons in the world, and it comes from The Guardian. Hiroshima's fading legacy, the race to secure survivors' memories amid a new era of nuclear brinkmanship.
That headline again from The Guardian, Hiroshima's fading legacy, the race to secure survivors' memories amid a new era of nuclear brinkmanship. This headline means that because Hiroshima happened so long ago, there's not much time left to record the memories of the survivors. But we're interested in this word brinkmanship. What can you tell us, Beth?
Well, brinkmanship is a noun. We know that because it ends in the suffix ship. And the word comes from brink, and that means the edge. So if you're on the brink of disaster, for example, you're about to move into a disastrous situation.
But the word brinkmanship is usually used in a political or military context, and it refers to the strategy of pushing a dangerous situation right to the edge of disaster, the brink, in order to get what you want.
That's right. So nuclear brinkmanship means being dangerously close to a nuclear conflict.
And for this reason, the word brinkmanship has very negative associations of danger and risk, a lack of safety.
We've had brinkmanship, the act of making a dangerous situation worse to get what you want.
For example, the government said the teachers' threat to go on strike was brinkmanship. Millions of students would suffer.
That's it for this episode of Learning English from the News. We'll be back next week with another news story.
If you want to practice what you've learned, go to our website to see more example sentences and try our free worksheet.
And don't forget to follow us on social media. Find us at BBC Learning English.
Goodbye for now.
Goodbye.